Welcome, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. In this video, we're going to talk about creating our own panel that we can use in a quilt, and we're going to then create a quilt for that panel using Electric Quilt 8. In the project, select Import and Edit Fabric Images. Select Import Image and navigate to wherever you have downloaded the vintage picture from my web page. And I put mine under My EQ8 Images, and I'll select the image and select Open. The first thing I want to do is resize this, and so I will select Resize. Make sure Maintain Aspect Ratio is turned on, and change the height to 8 inches, which will fit nicely on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and select OK. Select Add to Project Sketchbook, and also select Add as Fabric. Select the quilt work table and select New Quilt Horizontal. On the Layout tab, change the number of blocks to 3 horizontal and 1 vertical. Change the width to 2.5 and the height to 8. Under the finished size of sashing, put in a width of 0.5. Do not have either of the boxes checked. Select the Border tab, and for the first border, change it to a 1/2 inch long horizontal. Select Add and make that a 1 inch long horizontal, and select Add and make it a 1.5 inch long horizontal. And for a binding, select Add, change it to mitered, and change it to 0.375. If you are not able to select 0.375, under Work Table Options, select Snap Settings and change your nudge settings to an 1/8 inch. Select the Design tab. With the paintbrush and the Control or Command key, color the sashing, borders, and binding. Since I have a border print for the outer border, I'm going to use Rotate Fabric and click on each of those side borders to better match how I plan to piece the quilt. If you click on Paintbrush, you will not be able to see the vintage bicycle girl because the upper left corner is white, so the fabric is showing as white. However, if you hover over the fabric, you can see the description, which is what it was saved as. Click that and select each of the 3 blocks in the quilt. Then select Fussy Cut, click, hold, and drag the fabric to reposition it to achieve the illusion of the girl behind the window panes. When piecing the quilt, we're going to use our printed piece of fabric and cut each piece 3 by 8.5. Add to Project Sketchbook. Let's rework the second border to include some pieced flying geese units. Select the block work table and select a new block pieced Easy Draw block. Change the block width to 2 and the block height to 4, and set the snaps at 4 by 4 with snapping options just snap to grid. Using the grid tool, change the number of rows to 4 and the columns to 1, and drag a grid from the upper left corner to the lower right corner. Select the line tool and add the diagonal lines in each of the rectangles for the flying geese units. Select the Color tab and color this, and add to Project Sketchbook. Select the quilt work table and select Layer 2. Under Block Tools, Set Block, drag the flying geese block on the quilt and select it with the Adjust tool. We want to put this on border number 2, so we're going to change the size, and I can click on Preserve Aspect Ratio and change the width to 1. Now under the quilt grid options, we want to make sure we have turned on Snap Block Position to Grid, and under the grid snap increments, set it to 1/4 inch. Click, hold, and drag to move the block to the lower right corner of border number 2. And I'm going to zoom in. With the block still selected with the Adjust tool, select Copy, Paste, and under Block Rotation, type in 90 and click, hold, and drag to position to the left of the previous block. Select the minus to zoom out and select Copy followed by Paste and position the block in the upper left corner. And we're going to use the Rotate button and click on the block 2 times. Then we will select the other block in the corner, do a Copy Paste, move it to the left border, and use Rotate and click on it 2 times. Then we will add another block for the remainder of each of the borders. So under Set Block, click on the 3 dots and select Add Plain Block. Drag the plain block on Layer 2, select it with the Adjust tool, and now we're going to still want to have those grid snap options set at 1/4 inch, but we want to make sure the snap block size to grid is turned on as well. And I'm going to position this so that it's right next to the group of flying geese units. And I'm going to end at the end of the border, and I'm just dragging this to fit, right? So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, because once it's resized, I'm going to move it so that it positions directly next to the pieced blocks. Then Copy Paste and position next to the pieced blocks on the bottom border. Drag one of the edges to resize. For the final step, I always move away and move it back into position so it snaps to those 1/4 inch increments. Then I can Copy Paste, and I'm going to just rotate under Block Rotation, type in 90 degrees, reposition the block on the left below the flying geese units, and drag an edge to resize, and then move away and let it snap into position. Select Copy Paste and position and resize on the right border. Select Fabric Tools and color the new spacer borders. My fabric does have a white line running through it, but if I use Rotate Fabric, I can click on each of the patches to eliminate that. On Layer 2, click on the eye because we want to hide Layer 2. Then click on Layer 1, go to Fabric Tools, and I'm going to select a color that I am not using at all in the quilt, and I'm going to recolor that border. So when I do fabric yardage, I won't end up including this. So now I can unhide Layer 2, and I will hide Show Quilt Patch Lines and add to Project Sketchbook. And finally, let's talk about printing our image. Select the image work table and select Print and Export, followed by Photo Layout. Drag the image on the sheet, and in the dialog box where it asks if we should resize, select No, but then select Rotate Left, and we can drag to center on the sheet, and we will want to print this on a fabric sheet. Thanks so much for watching. For additional tips and techniques, please feel free to subscribe to my weekly newsletter at onpointquilter.com. And the related blog post for this video will also give some information for piecing this quilt.